Donald Trump and the United States restarts the war with Iran by targeting their civilian infrastructure, bombing a water reservoir that left over 20,000 Iranians without water. To be clear, targeting a civilian water supply is a war crime. The United States are the terrorists that they claim that their enemies are. This is evidence that the United States is not just targeting Iranian military infrastructure, but inflicting collective punishment on the Iranian people because Donald Trump is throwing a temper tantrum because he can't defeat Iran in a war. This is why you have to be completely brain dead if you believe the Epstein class actually cares about the Iranian people and saving them from their government. There are heinous demons who are willing to commit any act in order to defend and serve Israel. Remember, the United States started this war with Iran with one of the most grotesque war crimes in modern human history, with them bombing and murdering 160 Iranian school children, all in the service of the genocidal state of Israel. This is why anyone with a conscience should be unapologetically standing with Iran. Israel plans on building over 60 new settlements in the West Bank as the world watches on as Israel engages in systemic mass murder of Palestinians in order to steal their land. A UN report confirms what we already knew, that the IDF is working systemically with Israeli terrorists in order to ethnically cleanse Palestinians in the West Bank. Israel even pledged over $338 million in order to build settlements and to support the genocidal Israeli terrorists as they plan for settlement expansion in the West Bank. Meanwhile, Europe and the West are pretending that these are just rogue Israeli terrorists and putting sanctions just on individuals instead of putting sanctions on the state of Israel for their grotesque violation of international law by annexing the West Bank. The focus of Europe is arresting their own citizens for protesting the genocidal crimes of Israel. The reality of the situation is that Israel would never accept a two-state solution, and it's completely unreasonable for us to expect the Palestinians to be able to live next to these genocidal monsters.
What's poppin'? My friends, my family, welcome to Nick at Prime Time. How you guys doing this Friday? Like, we have the empire that's completely losing their mind. I'm gonna touch on the Iran deal here later. It's funny. You had Taco Trump. Taco Trump strikes once again, where he promised the bombings on Iran and claimed they were making a deal, claimed that Iran made a deal favorable to the United States. And then Iran replied, like, bro, we did no such thing, bro. The strait is still closed, and you're still taking this L. So imagine being American right now. Your country is being embarrassed on the geopolitical world stage, losing the war to Iran as your war criminal Epstein presidents kidnapping other presidents in Venezuela, for example. You have Israel that's still continuing their slaughter in the West Bank. That's why I was covering my hotspot video. I don't want people to forget about that. They pledged $338 million to murder Palestinians in the West Bank and to ethnically cleanse their population. Meanwhile, the West is completely silent at these barbaric crimes. You have people in Netanyahu's own government that is admitting that they want to engage in a Nakba in Lebanon, a new Nakba, in order to engage in a land grab. And as all this madness is going on, you have the ruling class doing everything they can to try to distract Americans with pure goy. In this moment, in the fall of the empire, we went into the Western Hemisphere, and all this shit. Can you imagine, like, the mental slavery of being someone who engaged in celebrity worship? It's the most cringe shit of all time to me, man. That's what I was saying here in response to this Goy finals. I will never understand Americans who look up to people who play make-believe and dress up for a living. Celebrity worship is extremely cringe. especially when you realize that Hollywood and the entire music industry as well, especially rap in the 90s and 2000s, have been essentially captured and owned by genocidal Zionist Jews. You had Taylor Swift there. The lady behind her, her father, literally served in the IDF. And she out here getting Hollywood roles. Jerry Steinfeld, for the life of me, I'm sorry, guys. You guys realize, and I don't mean to offend anyone here. When growing up, the rise of Seinfeld was extremely confusing to me. Like, it was the most popular show. You guys understand how rich this boy became just because of the syndication of Seinfeld? Seinfeld was like the show of white America, bro. And I blame Seinfeld and I blame Friends for my belief as a younger black man that I was like, bro, white people are not funny, bro. Like, I'm not. I told you guys I was very young and dumb. I will get canceled 1,000 times over. If you guys knew me 10 years ago, you guys have no idea. When I was younger, I was like, bro, white people are not funny, bro. Like, no one can fucking convince me that white people is funny. I was listening to Dave Chappelle. I told you, I get shot at Eddie Griffin, Bernie Mac. I grew up listening to black comedians, Richard Pryor and them. Then I would see a fucking Jerry Steinfeld. And I'm like, this is what you guys think is funny? You guys realize that Jerry Steinfeld is responsible. He plays a key part. There's a lot of other people like Friends, all these 90s sitcoms that white America loved. Bro, yeah, Eddie Murphy's another one, bro. Don't get me started. I loved Eddie Murphy back in my super politically incorrect days. So I grew up watching and having a great reverence for a lot of these legends in black comedy. And then they had Jerry Steinfeld, who was their top guy. Now, this is before I learned of George Carlin. I think Bill Burr's pretty funny as well. I told you guys, I'm not trying to discriminate here. I told you guys, this is why I used to believe. Back in the day, you couldn't convince me that white people was funny. I was like, bro, white people are so fucking boring. Don't get upset. I was young in high school. Jerry Steinfeld did a lot of damage. Then you realize as you get older that everyone you've seen planted in Hollywood and get these breaks are planted there by Zionist Jews. They are disproportionately Jewish people. You have all these unfunny comedian fucks like Michael Rappaport, whatever you say his name. You had Jerry Steinfeld, and another one is Adam Sandler. They had Adam Sandler at the Goyslop. This motherfucker, Adam Sandler and Jerry Steinfeld, I blame them motherfuckers for the reason why I did not believe white people was funny for like the first 20 years of my life. Yeah, Cat Williams, Red Fox, but yeah, I can go all day, guys. I can go all day. We were so spoiled with the amount of amazing black comedians that we had growing up. If you're a younger millennial, hell, even if you're Gen X. But then I looked at white America. I saw Jerry Steinfeld. I saw Adam Sandler. And people swear that Adam Sandler was the funniest motherfucking guy of all time. No, he's a Zionist. Now you guys understand why he got his break? And then those fucking delusional Zionist Jew Hollywood fuckers, they will pair Jerry Steinfeld up, this Neanderthal of a man. And they will put him in all these romantic comedies. They're like, let's put this unfunny Jew in a romantic comedy and have him snag the super hot, sexy white woman. Hollywood is where you see all the Jew fantasies come to life. And they all live vicariously through Adam Sandler, because how many of these Adam Sandler movies, this guy is... Do you guys believe that this man is a woman's man at all? Does he seem like a woman's man? But in every Hollywood movie, he's there again, the girl. You guys see how Hollywood was programming you guys? God awful movies. Now it makes sense why you got his break, right? The NBA, Hollywood, the entire celebrity culture is Zionist Israeli coded. And this is how they program Americans. And then they pick their own tribe, people in their own tribe, and they promote them. And if you're a goy, if you say anything inconvenient to Israel and the war machine, you see what happened to Mos Def. You guys remember Mos Def went on Bill Maher's show and said that Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga. Bush knocked down the towers. Tell the truth, nigga. Do you guys remember that fucking song? Banger. Mos Def. Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth. Yep. You guys never heard that man ever again. He was getting movie roles before that. He destroyed Bill Maher on TV. You guys remember that song? I would play it, but I think I would get in trouble. Dude, that was a bang. I need to listen to that again. It's been a while. Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga. Bush, bro, why you guys think these people disappear, bro? If you're not a genocidal monster, or you're not, if you're not neutral on their crimes, because being neutral on their crime is fine as well. Like if you're like LeBron James, LeCou James, as we call him, and when he's asked about Israel, he's like, yeah, I heard nothing but good things about the state of Israel. That we gotta do. They were ruining your ass. Look at what they did to Kyrie Irving. Bro, the NBA forces man to do a whole ass apology tour over his stance on anti-Semitism. And Kyrie Irving was like, bro, my religion tells me that you guys are not God, that Jews are not God-chosen people. Like, I'm allowed to say that. That's my religion. And then the Zionist Jews who want to import fascism into the West, they want to intimidate the Goyim, and they want to force, even if they had to force Western states to implement fascism to crack down on their free speech, they would do that. So here's Jerry Steinfeld. Here's the clip that went extremely viral, but this is not the first time he said this. Every single Hollywood hero that was fed to you for a reason. There are a ton of people over the last few years like, oh my God, I can't believe I used to look up to Jerry Steinfeld. L. I'm sorry, guys. L. The best way to solve any of these problems, don't look up to any of these celebrities. So here's Jerry Steinfeld.
Oh, Jerry Steinfeld. What up, Steinfeld? What up? Can we get a free Palestine? Can we get a free Palestine? Come on, give us one free Palestine.
It doesn't exist.
It was Jerry.
Just normalize barbarism. This is the same thing that Charlie Kirk used to say, by the way. There are a lot of people who try to rewrite what Charlie Kirk was. Charlie Kirk used to spell like, yeah, Palestine doesn't exist. The West Bank doesn't exist. All these people are rabid Jewish supremacists who want to wipe Arabs off the map and wipe their culture and completely erase. If we allow these bastards to win, younger generations won't even hear about Palestine in 25 years. Imagine 100. Imagine a few generations. It'll be one of those like long lost legends. Hey, remember how the Jews wiped out these people known as the Palestinians? What are you talking about? Oh no, yeah, we found on these deep sea scrolls. Like we found old books. All the data on the internet was erased. We found old books talking about who they called the Palestinians. The Palestinian. That is what history is gonna be. We let these bastards win. They want nothing more to erase. Literally anyone who opposed the Greater Israel Project, not just the Palestinians. They trying to do the same thing to the Lebanese. Then in 15 years, the next Jerry Steinfeld will be like, Lebanon? Lebanon doesn't exist. Lebanon. I know it's, guys, I know it's hard to hear, but this is what will happen if we lose. That's why Palestine must be free. This is why it's disgusting to me that anyone would associate with Zionists, because there's a lot of rightful anger towards Jerry Steinfeld. But just know he's one of the most honest Zionists, just like Ben Gvir. Ben Gvir, yeah, he's crazy, but he's one of the more honest Israelis. The thing that makes Jerry Steinfeld so disgusting is the fact that he's one of the few Jews who feel like he's so untouchable. And he is in a lot of ways. But he knows he's so untouchable that I'm not a politician either. I made over $500 million because of Steinfeld. I'm made for life. The establishment will always love me. I don't gotta pretend to be friends with the Goyim. I'm not trying to sell them any products. So he's one of the few Zionist Jews who can tell the truth. Every other Zionist is lying to you. Every other Zionist Jew is lying to you if they don't sound like Jerry Steinfeld. If they don't sound like Ben Gvir. Because this is the end result of Zionism. They are annexing the West Bank as we speak. As people are distracted with this Goyslop, you have the IDF that is teaming up with violent genocidal settlers in order to build more settlements and steal more Palestinian land. And the reason why Zionists support this is because they don't believe that the West Bank and Palestine are real places. They believe that these places are ordained by God to be theirs. The most disgusting Nazi ideology in current times. Here's another one. Israel killed more Palestinians in occupied West Bank since 2023 than prior 17 years combined. So they're engaging in their final solution as we speak. Meanwhile, the progressive left is still rubbing elbows and hiring and associating with Zionists in the middle of these crimes. They pretend that the genocide in Gaza is over. They pretend that Israel is now more pacified. No, they are continuing their project. So continuing to associate with Zionists and Zionist parties is disgusting at this point. Yeah, Jerry Steinfeld, he's a diddler. Here, look at this. Is anyone surprised? All these Zionist Jews are little Epsteins. Every single one of them. And if they ever go too hard and they ever face accountability, they just flee to Israel. That's why Israel is so important. It's their get out of jail free card. But these people are disgusting. It's a disgusting culture. It's a disgusting people who are obsessed with raping children, obsessed with younger women, and obsessed with not dating minors, raping minors. Remember when 39-year-old Jerry Steinfeld dated a 17-year-old? Hollywood was like, hey, good for you, man. Great catch. Hollywood is full of Harvey Weinsteins. A 39-year-old man with a hit TV show picking up his girlfriend from high school. Bro, there was Hollywood in general is rapey as fuck. What else can I say? They're all rapists. They all Epsteins. That's why you're a fool to look up to anyone in Hollywood. These people who play make-believe who are propped up by the people who own Hollywood. You have Taylor Swift here. I told you guys Taylor Swift was seen with her Zionist handlers. This is the public. This is what they allow you to do. You're allowed to have this much fun as long as you stay in line. If you stay in line, we will take you out on a Goy field trip. You want to watch the Knicks game, have no controversy, and be propped up by algorithms and the music industry and the system as a whole. Just be a good Goy. Never mention Palestine, okay, Taylor? promote concerts in Israel, okay, Taylor? Then let's go on our Goy field trip. They do these Goy trips. And they're like, hey, we're going to let you have some fun. You want to have some fun? Let's go to the Knicks games, but let's keep your Zionist handler on you. Taylor Swift is facing backlash after attending the 2026 NBA Finals with Alana Haim and her sister, whose father served in the Israeli IDF military in Israel. Dude, I have never seen anyone more manufactured than fucking Taylor Swift. I've seen images and clips of her because you guys know I dated a Swiftie a few years ago. It was like a big culture shock, bro. Like seeing someone, like she was obsessed with Taylor Swift. So I got like the other side of it. Me trying to be a good boyfriend, I would like watch clips with her. And I'm like, bro, she cannot sing or dance. She cannot sing or dance, bro. But if you're a obedient Goy, they will make her career. They will give you good writers. They'll give you a good producer to make you a catchy jingle. This is how you are rewarded. And to show you guys how much this is not a meritocracy. This is look at this fucking inbred motherfucker. I'm not a sex symbol myself, but I'm not getting fucking Hollywood roles, am I? She's literally a Hollywood actress. I don't know anything. I learned everything about her recently because everyone was digging up like, yo, who is this bitch with Taylor Swift? Who is this inbred? Apparently she gets Hollywood roles. Do you guys think that she's just that talented? Or maybe because she had a father in the IDF. Just like Wonder Woman. What's her name again? What's the name of the Wonder Woman actress? Like all these people can't fucking act. I forgot her damn name. I'm stuck with celebrity. Chat, bail me out. What's her name? Gal Gadot. Thank you. Kalel now. Kalel now. The worst actress I have ever seen in my life, bro. Like, bro, they clowned her so bad. Dead delivery. That's her reward for being a former IDF soldier as Israel was committing murderous war crimes in Lebanon. Then once she leaves the IDF, they find the best looking among them, and they're like, "All right, we're gonna have you as the face, the sexy face of Zionism." And they have Gal Gadot in these movies can't act worth the shit. Kalel, no. That's why she got the roles. Meanwhile, Taylor Swift Zionist handler. Yeah, my wife is notifying me that Taylor is sitting next to two huge Zionists. There she is. You guys, look at this natural beauty. They got all these Hollywood roles. Wonder why. All this obvious connecting, the fact that her father was an IDF soldier, so he called in a favor. Hey, I need my daughter to get in on the grift, and Hollywood calls her, even though she looked inbred as fuck. And I bet you she can't act. Never seen a Zionist who could act in my entire life. Now, have you guys ever seen a Zionist who can act? I didn't. I haven't. Explained to you guys before. This man is the least funniest man of all time. Never. This boy come out with a movie. I'm like, bro, is this really supposed to be a comedy? No, he's not funny, not handsome, not talented. You are just genocidal. And this is what they put on. This is the yeah, let me show you guys the NBA because it's even worse than this because I gotta show you guys this because the NBA, there's a reason why they put America through this humiliation ritual. All the Zionists in front. You had the KDF, Kevin Durant, who invests in Israeli drone tech. Steph Curry. These are the biggest stars in the NBA, fam. NBA star Stephen Curry faces backlash over investments in Israeli firm. Stop noticing and dribble your goy ball. This is like I'm saying, we got amazing guests. I told you about, we got Venezuela analysis joining us, so we're gonna do a hard pivot soon. I'm just having fun, noticing some things. The NBA got a lot of black players on it. That's something I'm pretty proud of. Like they say you're anti-Semitic if you say that there's a lot of Jews who own NBA basketball teams. I'm like, how is it anti-Semitic to mention a profession that your group is clearly thriving in? If you was to say, hey, Nick, there are a lot of African Americans, there are a lot of black people who play basketball, I wouldn't be like, oh, how dare you? I'm like, yeah, we're pretty good at basketball. Meanwhile, if you say, hey man, you guys are less than 3% of the population, but you control 46% of the NBA teams. Now you guys see why they forced Kyrie Irving to write apologies for not supporting God's chosen people in the right to a greater Israel project. So the question I ask, and I'm not telling you guys to make any conclusion about any groups. I'm just saying, what are the chances that people who are less than 3% of the population control 46% of the NBA? That's why the NBA will never condemn this stuff. This is why they will go after any athlete. This is why you had Amari Stoudemire. No, it was Dwight Howard, not Amari Stoudemire. You had Dwight Howard. He put out a tweet that said "Free Palestine" after he got drafted. They're like, bro, if you don't put this shit down, bro, we're gonna fucking end your career, bro. He told his story. So this is just a goy distraction. I'm not telling you guys not to have fun. Have fun, engage in whatever hobbies you have, but you must understand that this is just pure slop given to the American people to distract them from the crimes of their empire, the crimes of the United States, them just straight up kidnapping presidents, for example, destabilizing entire regions, stealing the oil of Venezuela. Let's pivot. We get something a little bit more serious now. We're going to bring on our esteemed guest from Venezuela Analysis. I'll follow their work all the time. We have Ricardo Vaz, who will join us once again. Thank you for making time. It's great to have you back on the show. How you doing, man?
Hey, Nick, great to be back. And sorry I couldn't make it last week, but I'm happy to be here. I was just watching you, proverbially raining on the, let's say, the celebrity Zionist parade at Madison Square Garden last night.
Yeah.
I mean, before we get to Venezuela, just to jump in, I was reading recently on how many of these megastars, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, they all, I think they get to a point where they are so rich that basically they just act like any other member of the bourgeoisie. And so, of course, at some point, they will get their business interests intertwined with the Zionist entity. And last night, I don't know why someone interviewed Stephen A. Smith, and he was saying, oh, yeah, he's got nothing but love for the chosen people. And that's when your hot takes get so hot, they get genocidal.
Oh, my God, dude. I need to show you guys a clip where Shaq and Charles Barkley was condemning Kyrie Irving for once again not accepting the Zionist Jews as their God-chosen people. It's every single black celebrity, every single black capitalist is a Zionist traitor. One of the greatest coalitions that promote genocidal Zionist ideology is the Black Congressional Caucus in AIPAC. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just going to remember the case of, I think it was Mahmoud Abdul Rauf in the 1980s or 90s who was basically, they ended his career because he refused to to stand up for the national anthem while the U.S. was, I think it was during the Gulf War or something.
Yeah. Here it is. My friend sent me this. Dude, I end the segment on this. I'm glad you chimed in. But this is how absolutely mind raped the upper class black community, the rich black capitalists are. And every single black person you see on TV, well, anybody in general, I'm just making an extra point. Anyone you see on TV are forced to do these humiliation rituals on behalf of Zionist Jews who are obsessed with murdering Arabs. So let me play this clip and then we can get to some Venezuela, but I think this is important to show to wrap the segment up.
I think the NBA dropped the ball.
In what way?
They're talking about Kyrie Irving, by the way.
Yeah,
I think he should have been suspended. I think Adams should have suspended him. First of all, Adams Jewish. You can't take my $40 million and insult my religion. You're going to insult me. You have the right, but I have...
My religion says I have the right to murder anyone who opposed my Greater Israel project. And if you oppose my religion, you're an anti-Semite, said the good boy. How insane is that? So if you was to reject their religious claim to ethnically cleanse the West Bank, are you being anti-Semitic, according to Goy Barkley here? But sorry, let me finish the clip. This is crazy.
$40 million and insult my religion. You're going to insult me. You have the right, but I have the right to say, no, you're not going to take my $40 million and insult my religion. I think the NBA, they made a mistake.
You know, the game that we used to love and we promote, it brings people together. And it hurts me sometimes when we have to sit up here to talk about stuff that divides the game. Now we got to answer for what this idiot has done.
Come on, man.
You know, I stand for equality of all people. I've always been like that. Don't matter what religion, no matter where you're from. I could say shalom, salam alaikum, ni hao, sebon, because that's how I was raised. So I don't really want to sit up here and answer questions for what he's done. You know, if you're looking at me, it's my job to make people happy. I can't speak for him and, you know, answer for you know what he's doing. It's obviously by his answers and the way he answers, he doesn't really care.
Yeah, I mean, how is this different from the all lives matter nonsense?
Our game brings people together. It brings the Goyim together with the people who commit genocide.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't discriminate against people who commit genocide.
Absolutely disgusting. But I'm glad. I appreciate you humoring me at the end of that segment there. Let's pivot to some news in the global south. We can start with Venezuela, and I'm very interested in getting an update on some of these elections that are going on in South America. So we'll cover that here later. But let's start here because I saw you guys wrote this amazing article, and there's been obviously a lot of chatter among anti-imperialists over Delcy Rodriguez, the United States plundering of Venezuela, and potential betrayals of Maduro. That's why I'm glad to have you on to get your perspective, because I try to listen to people in the region before making any conclusions, but there are a lot of very troubling signs about the future of Venezuela. So let me read the headline here, and I want to get your thoughts, because you guys wrote about this in Venezuela Analysis. Trump administration extracts renewed Venezuela oil concessions as Rodriguez touts new deals. So she's making these deals, including deals with Shell. So there are a lot of people who are dismayed by Venezuela losing their sovereignty in this way. What's your thoughts, Ricardo? Can you speak a little bit more about the details of this deal and how Venezuelans are feeling about it?
Yeah, I think the way you put it, that these are troubling developments, is probably the right way to start. Margaret Kimberley, for example, at Black Agenda Report, she's been writing on this. I mean, there are lots of opinions, and sometimes they get very heated. And I do understand, I mean, given the passions that are involved when it comes to Venezuela and the Bolivarian Revolution. But sometimes jumping to these conclusions or having this slogan on betrayal or treachery or whatever, I mean, even though we might feel that way and it might be a justified conclusion, it does not necessarily help when it comes to, understanding where we're standing and basically how do we move forward in terms of opposing imperialism. So basically the big picture is that Venezuela is now under, I'm not sure there's a name for this, but it will certainly get categorized at some point, some kind of neo-colonial tutelage arrangement whereby the most important decisions even though they are formally taken in Caracas, the directives come from Washington. So just now, I mean, we're kind of sort of breaking news this afternoon. Venezuelan acting president Delcy Rodriguez received a delegation of some junior officials from this National Energy Dominance Council, one of these things that Trump made up, and some energy undersecretary. And basically, the U.S. is taking advantage, because after you've imposed leverage, why not go for more? So after they managed to impose a very pro-business reform of the hydrocarbon law, and this was one of the pillars of Chavez's sovereign policy. So now they want to go one step further and impose further concessions when it comes to the specific oil contracts with these companies. And you had Jared Hagan, who's another Trump official, say, we're in touch with Rodriguez and her team multiple times a day. So you are in direct contact with the US. The US as both salesman and gendarme for the corporations, and accommodating to their demands directly. So we saw Shell was the latest. Then today there was a meeting with Trafigura, which is another multinational commodities trader. The day before it was Schlumberger, also one of the biggest oil services companies in the world. And a few weeks ago there was a parade, Chevron, BP, and even smaller companies that you never heard about, and then you go and search, and then someone who's related to someone who's related to someone in the administration. So basically, it's kind of a free-for-all for whoever the Trump administration decides has the green light to come and plunder Venezuelan resources. And we focus on oil because, of course, oil is the first thing that comes to mind in Venezuela. But there's more than that. There's also gold. There are strategic minerals, these rare earths that are key for high-end technology, weaponry, and so on. So just earlier this week, there was a large-scale military operation in the southeast of the country. That's a very remote area, but very rich in minerals. And basically, they were evicting the illegal artisanal miners, because we're going to see a switch from artisanal extraction to industrial extraction, with these US and Canadian corporations wanting to move in, and they've made it very publicly that they are interested in. So you need to kind of clear the area and establish security so that they can come in. There were rumors that later, they were false, that the Venezuelan military contingent was alongside US forces. There was no evidence of that. But at the same time, in recent weeks, we've also seen a parade of US military leaders coming in and announced, and then meeting with unnamed Venezuelan leaders at the embassy. So, of course, we're speculating because there's no official information, but it wouldn't be far-fetched to imagine that they are discussing these kinds of security operations, perhaps even sharing intelligence. And just to finish, and I'll give it back to you, Pete Hegseth was in Cuba this week, in Guantanamo Bay, kind of giving some rallying speech to the troops as they prepared some aggression against Cuba. And one of the things he said was that, very soon we're going to have an announcement on joint work with Venezuela on countering drugs, because Venezuela is now a partner or something like that.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts on this as well, because I always want to emphasize that someone who lives in the United States, and I'm heartbroken by what I see in Venezuela, I consider it a tragedy and a massive failure the United States left in anti-peace movement to stop the neocons from taking over Venezuela, from kidnapping Maduro. These are things that I've been speaking about for years. Like, these are things I'm trying to get attention on the left for years. And there was a lot of frustration with establishment, progressive politicians like Bernie and Zoran, who would throw Venezuela under the bus. And this is why I demanded the left to get their shit together and stop trying to engage in the devil's bargain of supporting U.S. imperialism. So you get some welfare programs that's not going to work. We can't throw our Venezuelan brothers and sisters under the bus. That's why it's very important for me, and I think most people who are conscious should acknowledge that this is all failure first and foremost. And I don't want people who live in the empire just pass the blame to, like, oh, what could the Venezuelans do to resist the empire that we should be stopping more. But with that said, that's why there's a lot of these concerning headline. This was the one that broke many other people. So I'm not here to tell you guys, oh man, this is all on Delcy. You can make the argument that she has very little choice because we failed to reign in our empire. That's my position. I take that position as a revolutionary. I can't only pass blame on her. But this is one of the things that led a lot of people to the conclusion that she completely gave up on the Bolivarian Revolution, that she sold out Maduro and she wanted to sell out any Maduro ally, which means the Bolivarian Revolution is dead. I want you to comment on that, whether you agree on that statement, but also I want you to comment on this because Alex Saab was the guy who I read about who helped break the United States siege on Venezuela and help I was about to say smuggle, but I hate that word. That's not the right word to say. I was about to say smuggle food and medicine in, but that would imply that he's a criminal. So I would say he
circumvent.
Circumvent U.S. sanctions. I thank you for that. I think that's be a more accurate way to put it. So anyway, I want your thoughts on this story. You can share your opinion on this. Anything you want to correct that I say is welcomed as well. What is your reaction to the Alex Saab story and Delcy Rodriguez government apparently giving them up to the United States? What is the reaction of ordinary Venezuelans as well, Ricardo?
Yeah, I mean, you make a great point on what should be the priority, right? And as revolutionaries in the global north and in the US, not just blaming the other people's failures for not standing up to the empire, when in fact the empire also needs to be challenged at home. And very often we saw these very cheap bargains on how people like Bernie Sanders were happy to compromise. Even compromise is an euphemism. Compromise on foreign policy just to see if they could get ahead. And of course, that doesn't work. I mean, on principle, it doesn't work. But I mean, the logical extension of that is that you have to ask, and then what's the best way to challenge U.S. imperialism? And I think the starting point has to be an honest assessment of reality, as opposed to trying to jump through hoops and make all these mental contortions to try and find some justification for what the Venezuelan government is doing. So that's counterproductive. At this point, the main aspect of U.S. control over Venezuela is the fact that all the export revenues, particularly from oil sales, they do not get into the Venezuelan coffers. They first go to the U.S. Treasury, and then once, I don't know, Marco Rubio or whoever decides, a portion of it, we don't know how big of a cut the Trump administration is taking, but it's surely taking a cut. And then it comes back to Venezuela under certain conditions. According to Rubio, Venezuela has to, quote unquote, submit a budget request. So this kind of direct colonial impositions is something that should be challenged directly from the United States and from the solidarity movements, as opposed to trying to find these equilibriums and trying to find justifications for what the Venezuelan government is doing. I think that's looking at it from the wrong angle. I would certainly dispute the idea that the Bolivarian Revolution is dead, in the sense that it's much more than just the government, right? I mean, it was always bigger than the government, it was always bigger than Chavez, and it's certainly very much alive within the grassroots and even within other aspects of the state and so on. But it's at the same time, it's undeniable that right now sovereignty has been compromised, and the Chavismo, the Bolivarian Revolution, is, I wouldn't say, I mean, one of the main things is anti-imperialism. So there isn't a Bolivarian Revolution, there isn't a Chavismo that treats the U.S. as a partner and that ignores the genocide in Palestine and submits these lukewarm statements on we want peace in the Middle East, as if everyone is equally responsible for that, and that treats corporations, these giant destructive corporations like Shell and Chevron and so on, as reliable partners for a sovereign development. I mean, you cannot satisfy shareholders and the Venezuelan people at the same time. It's one or the other. And I think eventually these contradictions on the domestic level are going to become much, much harder to paper over. Right now, I mean, we're still only 5 months removed from January 3rd, and there's still a lot of expectations. Just because the economic situation was so dire, there are still expectations that it's going to improve in the near term. But with your revenues under US control, the perspective of getting some massive debt restructuring slapped on you, and debt is the best way to put these global South countries in dependency for decades. So, and then the IMF may arrive, and we know how these programs go. So I think these contradictions are going to become much harder to avoid, and inevitably these balances that the government is trying to strike right now are going to become more difficult, which takes us to the Alex Saab case. So I mean, we've become experts in sanctions terminology just by necessity. So indeed, Alex Saab was a key player when it came to circumventing sanctions. But at the same time, under this idea of being honest in our assessment, he was a key player precisely because he was a business mogul. He had major business interests, which led to him developing a network of shell companies. And shell companies in times of peace are used to evade taxes and store capital abroad. But in this case, he became an ally of the Venezuelan government to get this much needed food, medicine, fuel imports at times where the US was basically going after everything. And so that's why the Venezuelan government launched such a huge campaign, and you'll remember it as well as I do. When Saab was first arrested in Cape Verde, that was mid-2020, then he was taken to the US and he was on trial for money laundering. Basically, the Venezuelan government spared no effort for his release. And the campaign, I wouldn't admit it loudly at the time because it would have been inappropriate, but the campaign was over the top, saying that he was like the Cuban Five rolled into one and a modern day Che Guevara and an equivalent of Assange. But you understood it in the sense that you had to generate this public opinion to fight for his release. And in the end, partly because of that and also because of how the geopolitical situation in Ukraine and so on, there was an agreement and he was released. And it's not like he faded into obscurity. He returned to Venezuela. His efforts were acknowledged. Also, the fact that he could have struck a deal with the US and try and sell out the Venezuelan government, and he didn't. He stuck to it and he was disciplined and so on. And so that was recognized. And then a few months later, he was appointed Minister of Industries. And again, here, there's no reason for us to sugarcoat it. He is a businessman, and so his perspective as Minister of Industries is searching for these alliances with the private sector and handing over state assets, which is definitely a backward step, but sometimes you have to put it in context, right? I mean, we are under sanctions. You cannot get investment for these companies. Many of them are run to the ground. So you make these concessions, you bring in the private sector, hopefully they can jumpstart it and so on. I mean, many times this is done with very little transparency and very little accountability, but that's kind of the overall context, which isn't to say that it's necessarily a step in the right direction. But then, Saab is a prominent figure. He appeared in televised broadcasts with Maduro. And then, but it was known that, I mean, basically these powerful factions within the ruling coalition, they have tensions within them. And it was kind of known that if Rodriguez, who was in charge of the oil industry, she was oil minister and economic vice president, she basically wanted to control these channels because Saab, due to his connections and ability to circumvent sanctions, he was also in charge of oil shipments and so on. So it was kind of written on the wall that when Rodriguez assumed the presidency on an acting basis, that she would try and shut down these Saab channels. What was not so obvious was that she was going to surrender him back to US custody, because there's also no mystery there. He's being charged again for different money laundering charges. And you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to imagine that, given how weak the drug and narco-terrorism charges against Maduro are in New York, that they're going to open a separate, or maybe tie them together, a separate process, a separate trial tying him to Alex Saab. And if before, 5 years ago, Saab was loyal and did not accept any kind of plea bargain that would have given him a reduced sentence, he doesn't really have that incentive right now. So in the end, the concrete result of delivering Saab to US authorities might be that he will actually hurt Maduro's defense here in the other trial.
Yeah, man. Nicolas Maduro been stuck in solitary confinement while the Epstein pedophiles, the pedophile defenders, the people who block in the thin, the people who rape children are free. How does that not make everyone sick, man? Like, there's no justice in the world that Maduro is being tortured by the West. His wife is being tortured because they had the audacity not to fold to Western demands. But you mentioned something before. I'm glad that we can listen to your perspective about the Bolivarian Revolution not being dead, and that's great to hear. I want to get your perspective about any resistance to what we are seeing. I don't know how much this is true. Let me show you guys this. I saw this earlier, and this is something that the corporate media is pouncing on. Maybe you can share your perspective on this because you guys know, unfortunately, as Americans, we are bombarded with Western propaganda about Venezuela. So it's always, I never take the story at face value, but it'd be interesting to get your perspective on this. And I generally asking about the resistance to to this United States, these deal making. What obviously is not good for the Venezuelan people. But I shared this earlier before, and I was kind of concerned. The vanishing of Nicolas Maduro, how former dictator. They call any country who they don't like a dictatorship. By the way, they don't give a fuck. Any country they don't like is a dictator. That's what they believe in. They said Maduro is being erased from Venezuela. Billboards are being painted over, and former allies seem eager to forget the man they once glorified. So the overall question, and I want you to ponder on, is like the resistance to opposing the United States, and maybe you're reacting to this as well. Anything you want to add, Ricardo?
Yeah, let me start with this and say that Tom Phillips is a notorious dishonest journalist.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, he actually blocked us on Twitter for pointing that out. But anyway,
Giant W.
No, go ahead, sorry.
No, that's a big W, and this is the story that everyone like. You can see a similar story in the Washington Post. This is like the messaging of the corporate media. But please continue, Ricardo.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly jumping on it, and of course, it's something that they can pounce on to kind of expose divisions and so on. But sadly, I mean, I cannot just completely deny it. I mean, it's not something that's happening overnight. I mean, if you walk around Caracas and other parts of the country, you'll see these big billboards from the 2024 campaign and murals. Some more like improvised graffiti or Free Maduro and Let Maduro and Celia return and so on. But at the same time, there are some of these roadside billboards that have been replaced. Also, in terms of the aesthetic at the presidential palace, where before you used to have lots of these Maduro and Chavez portraits, now they have a much more somber look. I mean, when you see these meetings between Delcy and Delcy Rodriguez and foreign delegations from corporations and so on, it's not against the background of Chavez and Maduro and Bolivar and so on. But perhaps more tellingly is just how Maduro has faded from the discourse, from the official discourse. I'll make that distinction. Yeah. So whereas after January 3rd, it was clear, it was obvious and often repeated how Maduro had been kidnapped and he had to be released, and even a demand that he was released and that international bodies act accordingly. There was a study that the references to Maduro fell by some 90% between January and April. And I'm pretty sure at some point someone is going to start a website with a clock saying how many days since the last time Delcy Rodriguez mentioned Maduro. So again, here we can there's a road that kind of tries to justify it, saying, oh, you're not going to release Maduro with public pressure, and this is some high-level sophisticated negotiations. But I think that's, again, wasting effort where it shouldn't be. I mean, here, the Venezuelan government has decided pragmatically to engage with the Trump administration to reestablish diplomatic relations with the government that kidnapped Maduro and is parading him as a trophy. And I mean, they made that choice because they felt that in the best case scenario, that's going to lead to some economic improvements, that they maybe can regroup from that. I have very serious questions given how the sovereignty is compromised, but it was their choice under very difficult circumstances. Let's not forget that, and that perhaps what they felt was the best chance at survival. But one of the things, there's a Puerto Rican philosopher called Ramon Grosfoguel, so from the decolonial school and so on, and he was saying that fine, you can have these kind of tactical retreats. But where are your red lines? What are the lines that you're not going to cross? And thus far, we haven't actually seen anything that would be a red line. Maybe U.S. demands of early elections will be a red line, but it actually goes to the other thing that you brought up. What's the resistance shaping up like? So there's still no organized resistance. Let me put it that way, because it's very hard because the government is still in power. So again, it goes back to this difficult balance. These balances they're going to become more and more difficult to strike. So about 3 weeks ago, the U.S. did a military exercise here in Caracas. I'm sure it was reported. Basically, they flew some helicopters or some aircraft that are not helicopters to the embassy, unloaded a Marine battalion, and then came back for them and so on. But it was just like a blatant show of force, show of who's in charge here. And the Venezuelan government did kind of the worst of both worlds. And at first, it published a statement saying, we have authorized an evacuation drill this coming Saturday. And then they got bombarded with backlash saying, we're going to see the same aircraft that bombed us and kidnapped Maduro on January 3rd. Now they're just going to parade here on the skies of Caracas. And the next step by the government, instead of either doubling down, trying to justify it, they just deleted the statement, but the exercise still went ahead. So it goes to show how difficult it is to maintain a coherent narrative in the middle of all this. But nevertheless, on that day, there were several spontaneous protests of people, remembering that they are above all anti-imperialists. And so I believe that that's something that's going to become more intense, and it's going to become a choice for the government, because some of its own base is going to get more active on this anti-imperialist discourse, and then having these very friendly relations or this kind of subordination to U.S. dictates is going to become more and more difficult. So it's not an easy road ahead, and I think as time goes on, especially if economic conditions do not improve, because that would kind of allow everyone to just change the conversation, then this primary contradiction of sovereign nation state versus imperialist imposition is going to become unavoidable.
Yeah, hopefully we see Venezuela look like Bolivia if Donald Trump and the United States continue to push. I want to ask you about this obvious far-right Zionist push into South America. I don't know how much you guys covered the Isaac Accords. We covered them in detail. You had Honduras Gate, Benjamin Netanyahu working with Juan Orlando Hernandez, and a bunch of these Zionist leaders in South America. I want to get your thoughts on what is there any unified resistance against this? Because we've seen people in Bolivia rise up against a U.S. puppet Zionist leader. Essentially, there's a very coordinated effort by the Zionist regime, and Javier Milei is playing a big part in this as well. He's like one of the biggest Goyslop leaders in South America. And then you have Lula. Isn't he running against Bolsonaro's son or something like that? I've been guys. Lula, we know Lula isn't perfect, guys. We know we got criticism of Lula, but fam, you guys have to realize that the Bolsonaros are complete and utter wall-kissing slaves of Israel. Once again, Lula is far from perfect, but can you guys imagine the shit we will be in if the biggest economy in South America was ran by diehard Zionists in this time right now? And they're trying to take that. They're trying to take over Brazil. Zionists right wing take over Brazil, and Lula has some vulnerabilities because of some decisions made. So I want to ask you about these elections in general, this resistance to this Isaac Accords. Do you think it's going to be successful? How do you think this is going to end? Because there's a lot of just straight up class war going on, a revival. Well, if you can make the argument it never was dead, but I would say a surge in the Cold War colonial mentality in South America, where if Donald Trump and the United States had their way, every single left of center, well, not even that, left of center right, even left of Dick Cheney, their government would fucking fall. So, Ricardo, what's your thoughts on this? On the Isaac Accords, this right-wing push, and also, if you want, you can speak a little bit more about these elections going on in Peru. This would be a good way to wrap our segment up to hear your guys' reporting on this.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. I mean, we pay attention, but we don't really cover. We try to not say too much about things we're not really into, just to give the floor to the people who are more knowledgeable and all that stuff. But of course, we pay attention. And one of the things that, I mean, it's not new, but it's just how easy it is for the Zionists and the fascists to build these coalitions, and just how hard it is for the left to fight back. And here, I mean, I have to start with Venezuela, but it's because it's kind of symbolic. Just how, I mean, you could have had many criticisms of Maduro, but basically the reaction to his kidnapping was very tepid. And just, I think people did not realize, or maybe they chose to ignore, just how dangerous of a precedent this was, and how you can just create a fake judicial case and then come and kidnap a leader in the middle of the night. And so it goes to the point where leaders like Lula and Petro, I mean, and Sheinbaum in Mexico, them being the three most important left of center governments, how they have a lot of merits, but at the same time, I think they are still victims of this trap where they believe there is some kind of accommodation. Even if they don't have illusions about the US, they believe that there's some kind of accommodation, and that's kind of the easiest way forward, where they're not going to confront it directly. I mean, it also falls prey to this issue of having these very short government cycles. And so if you're going to take a difficult decision, then it might hurt you in the next election cycle, and you always feel that these bigger issues will be easier to solve in the future. I understand where that comes from, but what we're seeing is that we had kind of the pink tide in the first 10 to 15 years of the century, and then the right took power and didn't last. And then once the left came back, it felt like they didn't actually learn the lessons from before. So this left cycle was also incredibly short. And we saw, in Ecuador, despite 2 terms of horrible right-wing governments, the left could not get back. Same in how it was tragically lost in Bolivia. But at the same time, perhaps the positive spin here, how we were mentioning, class war, you cannot wish class warfare away. It's there, and it's driven by the material conditions. And just coming back with even more rampant neoliberalism is going to actually worsen the contradiction. And that's why you had this new Zionist right-wing president in Bolivia, and we're only months into his term, and you're already seeing this large-scale uprising. I'm not actually sure how it's going to end, because we saw similar cases in Ecuador. Over the last decade, there were these uprisings, mostly led by the indigenous coalitions, who even arrived at the capital and they took the presidential palace, but then they didn't really know what to do, and then they just settled for some concessions. In Bolivia, it's different, because since they have Evo Morales, they know what it is to hold state power. Whether they're going to be able to force a breakthrough, I'm not sure, because the leeway for repression is huge, especially with the US support and just how public opinion is so dispersed right now. So it might just be a case where maybe they cannot break through, but it's still a case where they have accumulated and they have shown that they are ready, and they are going to get stronger and stop the government from having such a free reign in terms of imposing these neoliberal conditions on the majority of the population. That's perhaps the most useful lesson here in Bolivia, and it also applies to Brazil. We were talking about Lula going up against Bolsonaro Jr. in a few months. And again, has Lula learned the lessons from 4 years ago? Because again, we were saying, the polls were saying he's going to have an easy win, and in the end it was very close, and now it's going to be the same thing. So do you make enough of an effort to connect with the majority, and as opposed to trying to find these constant compromises, and not to mention ignoring the US influence, which is always there?
Yeah, thank you for this breakdown. I was getting caught up. I was showing you guys some headlines, showing you guys the protests in Bolivia as well. Brazil's Lula widens lead over Flavio. Is that how you say his name? Flavio Bolsonaro. I never actually said his name out loud before. Ahead of presidential vote. Dude, that whole story is crazy to me, man. It's like Bolsonaro gets locked the fuck up. Lula locks his ass up. His sons runs against him, and because of uh, Zionist bought media, the Western meddling and information spheres as well, pushing people towards Bolsonaro. Now you have a close election. I saw this. I was trying to find like an update over what's on how that election is going. This headline said Lula is widening the lead.
Yeah, I think there was some minor scandal that widened his lead, but it's going to be very close, and it always is when it gets just so polarized. But again, it goes to show how the pro-imperialist Zionists are finding more and more ways to work together, especially given how big of an advantage they have in the media field. And Bolivia, as Zoya is reminding us, is the reminder that your counterweight is not staying in this very limited and biased and tilted playing field, but relying on your forces and understanding that the class struggle is unavoidable. And sometimes it's just a matter of reminding people that the right and neoliberalism are not going to solve the issues. But again, the common theme is that these balances of trying to be, Chavez used to say, you cannot be friends with God and the devil at the same time.
Yeah.
In reference to the US.
Yeah, I'm looking at these numbers, man. This shit is way too close to my liking. I'm not Brazilian. I can't weigh that much on domestic politics. I'm just analyzing this from a geopolitics perspective. I mean, and I'm just thinking like, bro, it will be, despite all the flaws of Lula, it will be devastating for the largest economy, largest population in South America to be ran by the Bolsonaro Zionist mob scum again. Look at these numbers. Maypo had it 42 to 41.
Yeah, and it also goes to show how easily any progress that you might have made during this term can be reversed, because you are trying to strike these balances and you don't want to make any big changes because they might be difficult to implement and so on. But it might also be that in 4 years you're out, and in 3 months everything is reversed, like you had in Bolivia. But then the question is, do you have the strength to then fight back? Lula had a comment a couple of weeks ago. I think we chatted about this. How he was saying, he was in touch with the right-wing Bolivian president, and he was hoping that things got solved through peaceful and constitutional means and so on. And I mean, of course, we're here giving our opinions from far away. I think that's the wrong perspective to approach, because let's say the liberal constitutional liberal democracy is not an end in itself, right? I mean, it's a very damaged playing field, and so to dismiss the ability for people to actually take direct action in the streets because you are hoping that everything is going to be solved through institutional channels, I think is a serious misconception for the left. I'm not sure if it's something that Lula did at the moment for some other short-term calculation, but it is definitely, I mean, we know this is a misconception.
Yeah, the last one I'll show you, once again, there's so much happening in South America right now. You also have Gustavo Petro being targeted by another Trumpian figure. Colombian far-right candidate is the latest Trumpian figure in Latin America to ride the anti-incumbent wave. And I believe that is what one of the things that Honduras gave was like mentioning how they was planning on creating fake networks in order to spread information to go after Claudia Sheinbaum and also Gustavo Petro, because they want this. Like, I don't even know who this guy is, Albergalato, whatever. I can just tell you, it doesn't even matter. You don't even have to know his name. Like, you don't have to know his face. It does not matter. He is going to be a slave to the United States, to neoliberalism. So it literally does not matter who this guy is. This is essentially Gustavo Petro versus the United States and Israel. So
it's not Petro because he cannot run again, but it's Ivan Cepeda, who is very much aligned with Petro, running against Abelardo de la Espriella. And you're right. I mean, who is this guy? They can just manufacture these fascist characters. They're very much in the Nayib Bukele mold from El Salvador. someone who says it's just going to be heavy-handed on crime and whatever. And it's not even speculation that he's going to be a slave to the U.S. agenda. I mean, he was asked, what's your relationship going to be with Venezuela? And he said, I'll just let the U.S. lay out the terms. So, but Colombia is an extreme case because Petro was the first leftist president in the country's history, in a history of massacres against the left. And I think, again, we have a lot of criticisms of Petro, but I think he was, and one of the reasons he was being targeted is that he was very firm, or he became firmer and firmer against genocide in Palestine. And I think domestically, despite having the legislative chambers stacked against him and so on, he still managed to approve very progressive legislation in terms, for example, of labor and improving the minimum wage and so on. So it's very clear that the oligarchy that already hated him hates him now even more. And Colombia is perhaps the country in Latin America with the biggest right-wing skew in its media environment. And so the campaign, the demonization has been off the charts, and that's made it very difficult for Cepeda. And he's behind in the polls. Maybe he can pull off a miracle and win the second round, but it looks like it's going to be a return to the far right in Colombia. But again, in this case, I wouldn't necessarily attribute it to any shortcomings in Petro's policies, just a matter of how difficult the environment is in Colombia. But there, I think, of course, it's devastating to lose and then have a return to these murderous policies against campesinos and guerrillas alike in the countryside. But I think there's a base from which to build on and continue moving forward. And it's not going. Just like it wasn't easy for the right to return to power in Bolivia, I think there's also going to be difficult in Colombia.
Yeah. So this is the 3-horse race between left wing center. So you was right.
That was the first round, and now it's a runoff between the furthest right and the left one.
And so Gustavo's successor is Ivan Cepeda, was it? Cepeda. So you know much about them? Are they pretty solid?
Yeah, Cepeda is a great figure. He comes from the Patriotic Union. So Patriotic Union was this party formed out of the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia when there was a fake peace agreement, and they were trying to join normal politics, quote unquote, and they just had thousands of members massacred, presidential candidates assassinated. And Cepeda is the son of assassinated political leaders from the Patriotic Union. And he has a lot of merits. He's not as charismatic as Petro, and perhaps that has worked against him in the presidential campaign. But
I'm sorry.
He has two major merits. One, no, absolutely. But he has two major merits. One, he has held the flag of accountability for the army massacres in the countryside, on the one hand, and on the other, he has driven the charge against Alvaro Uribe for his responsibility in these absolutely horrendous human rights crimes. And that's, again, one of the reasons why he's so dangerous to the Colombian oligarchy. So he has a lot of merits. I think he was the right choice, or perhaps the best choice as a candidate in Colombia. But again, the odds were stacked against him. I still hope that there's a last-minute turnaround, but even if there isn't, the struggle is going to continue.
Yeah, good luck to them. I appreciate you coming on and giving us your time tonight and your analysis. Anything you want to plug, promote, make sure you guys check out Venezuela Analysis for their reporting. Follow them on X. I believe you guys have a website as well, Venezuela Analysis.
Yeah, if you look on X on the bio, there's a link to the website. Again, I really appreciate coming on and being able to discuss these things, honestly and thoroughly. Just to highlight something very specific, we did an infographic that you can find on our infographics section, which is called something like the Neocolonial Plunder of Venezuelan Resources, which explains in detail just how this new scenario is shaping up. How, on the one hand, you have these legislative changes cater to the corporate interests, how you have these US licenses that, among other things, demand that the export revenues get deposited in the US Treasury accounts, and then finally a little map where we're keeping track of which corporations are moving in and where and what kind of deals they have.
Yeah, thank you for joining us once again. Here's the website, Venezuela Analysis. We definitely will have you back on for an update in the region. There's a lot going on, so we definitely will need to hear from your guys' perspective in the future. So thank you guys for joining us. Follow Venezuela Analysis. Let's do some Q&A. Thank you for joining us once again, Ricardo. Zoya's Love, Zoya's Life. Are you there, my friend? Let's wrap this show up. What's poppin', my friend? Yeah, Ricardo, he does great work. Venezuela Analysis. They're one of my top sources I use in my South America. Like whenever I cover South American stories on my hotspot, Venezuela Analysis is one of the great first go-to sources for these kind of stuff. Zoe, how you doing, my friend?
Awesome as always. School is out. This was our last week, graduation finals, so I'm a free woman.
Yeah, Zoe is free. Now to put her back to work.
Oh my God, Nick's a capitalist. Well, let's get into these great super chats and chats from our audience. Mark Puglisi, thank you for the $2. Gwyneth Paltrow covered for Weinstein. I didn't know that actually, but it all makes sense now.
Like she had some Zionist commercial that I couldn't be bothered to watch that everyone's up in arms about. Once again, I don't know why people are surprised. I'm surprised if any of these people even acknowledge Palestinians as humans. Like if any of them, like that's the better bet. Like don't be surprised they're Zionists. Be surprised if they're not. That's how I treat Hollywood people.
Yeah, they will never share our class interests anyway, so fuck them.
Yeah.
Marvin Vargas, thank you for the $5. Tennessee has Zio grip trying change verbiage in state docs from West Bank to Jude O. Samario Y. Zio destroy historical sites in Palestine, Lebanon, Syria. Yeah, I didn't understand some of that, but definitely something that breaks my heart for decades now. They did this in Iraq as well, is that they're destroying these historical sites that are much older than a lot of these countries that belong really to humanity, to our shared human history, and are not strategically military targets at all. And they're just erasing the history of all our people. Champamanda, thank you for the $10. Thank you for all you do. Happy Friday. Yeah, happy Friday to all of you guys.
I appreciate you guys.
Hopefully all of you will have some time off that you'll be. I swear I was happier than the kids doing the countdown. I'm like, come on, guys, school's over. Zaldivar, thank you for the $5. Chuck Barkley only did that because they were going to take away his meatballs and churros. Well, you know, again, it's also their class interests, but you can never be free within this system, no matter how far up the ladder you go.
Yeah, they was calling Charles Barkley a coon. You guys know that? But like being a coon is the default setting for black capitalists. I'm not talking about for the workers. Zoe, you know how a lot of people think they're capitalists?
Yeah.
No, you're not fucking capitalist. You're a worker. So I'm not talking about them, guys. I'm talking about the capitalists. Like the fucking capitalists. They like black capitalists by default. You know, like the people who got holdings and the IDF, like Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, all of them. That's literally by definition what it means to be a capitalist. These people, all of them are fucking capitalists, and they all are capitalist first. I was about to say black second, but that's like fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. It's not even on the fucking. It's not even on the radar. That's why whenever I see people like still obsessed over these celebrities, it drives me crazy, man. I have a close family member who I got a lot of respect for, but they love Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. Dude, it makes no sense to me, bro. Like it literally drives me crazy. I promise you, they're smart otherwise. But when it comes to Nicki Minaj and Cardi B, they go full fucking retarded. It's insane. How like Nicki Minaj is even worse. Isn't she like she was twerking, shaking her ass for Donald Trump? Like all these people are utter scum. All these people are utter scum. I don't have the words to describe how much I hate these people. It doesn't exist. But go ahead, Zoya.
Yep, I feel you. The franchise, Devil's Bargain, amen. Yeah, and we're not even gonna get those concessions, so it's really sad that people fall for it.
Did they still get free buses yet? Oh, no.
keep holding your breath, guys. Any day now. Ted Maloof, 99% of the black politicians, police, etc., are more racist than any KKK.
Yep. You gotta prove your loyalty. We tell people all the time, bro, there's nothing worse than getting pulled over by a black cop. Like they waited for the moment to show Dave and Billy that they're down with the gang instead of with the hoods. So they're dangerous. The same with black politicians. Why you gotta think Jim Clyburn is one of the biggest whores for health insurance companies? His constituents in South Carolina, they have one of the highest rates of medical bankruptcy, and life expectancy is extremely low. Once again, I don't understand how there's not a way more hatred at our black leaders from our community. Like there's still like this code of worship from like a lot of black boomers where you're supposed to respect John Lewis. You guys remember me and Rome got canceled because we was like, fuck John Lewis. Bro, I love Rome. Rome was so hard. I need someone like Rome to be next there with me. Now you can't go after John Lewis alone. You know what I'm saying? You got to have a partner in the crime to help absorb some of the hits that you're gonna get. Because I was like, fuck John Lewis, fuck Jim Clyburn. When he goes away, I'm gonna celebrate when all these motherfuckers die. They sold us out in such a horrific way. We'll go ahead, Zoya.
Absolutely. The franchise. This just makes me sad, to be honest. Oh yeah, that's why we do these shows, to vent and remind ourselves of optimistic developments. It is really tragic to be watching everything going on nowadays. Queer Black Socialista, Stephen A. is a clown.
Dude, I will never forgive America for letting him be a thing. I still remember when he first started out, bro. The fact that he's still doing this and he's bigger than ever. You gotta realize he's like one of the reasons why I stopped even watching like sports commentary. Period. When I was a dumb teenager, I used to watch SportsCenter all the time. Like I used to watch those sports shows because I was really into. Like I was a big sport head as a teenager, especially basketball. I promise to God, Stephen A. Smith is one of the reasons why I stopped watching that show like long time. Like it was like 15 years ago. I'm an old man. It was a long time ago. I stopped watching these shows, and he's the number one reason, bro. It became so cringe and so performative. And you have this pencil neck dipshit who look like he can't even lift with basketball, criticizing basketball greats, bro. Just making money being a hater. And of course he's an establishment bootlicker too, because of course he is. I swear, every single black person I see on TV, I hate. It's almost without exception. Every single black person that is loud on that TV is the worst Negro you can find, and that's Stephen A. Smith.
And that's why they're on TV.
Yeah.
Amanda Marie Brinkley. I really, really love Charles. That makes me so sad. That's not the first time Charles made me sad with politics. But to be honest, guys, these people are strangers. Like, this propaganda makes us fall in love with celebrities who we don't know. They could go home and beat their wives, be horrible parents, be just terrible people. And we have no clue who they are. They're just performing for us. So you're falling in love with an illusion. And then people become attached to these illusions and they disappoint them. We don't know these people. They're not on our side. They're never going to be on our side. They'd be the first ones calling the cops if there was any kind of uprising. I hate shitlibs. Delcy is a fucking traitor. Amen.
Don't get started on Delcy.
It's
Zoya was screwed from day one. Zoya was like, bro, I fucking told y'all.
I'm just from a country that was sold out by traders like Gorbachev and Yeltsin. So, the devastation can't be understated that these motherfuckers sold out for pennies for Pizza Hut commercials. Millions of people, the suffering that ensued afterwards. I actually got to see it. I actually got to live it. And even after I left as a refugee, I got to hear it from friends and relatives that stayed behind. I mean, the devastation these people cause, fuck them. Like, we don't hate them enough, actually. That's why, for me, like, as soon as, first of all, Chavez fired Delcy, so she already had some things on her record where we should be side-eyeing her. But her behavior in enabling this U.S. takeover of Venezuela and Venezuelan resources, and how she's now betraying everything Maduro and Chavez stood for. It's just so glaringly obvious. And it's sad that some people are emotionally attached and want to defend her and want to make excuses for her. And it's just like people make excuses for US military. I mean, people were poor, they had no other choice. At some point, we have to hold people responsible for taking the cowardly way out and bending the knee, whether they have a gun to their head or not, to empire, because their cowardice is going to cause millions to suffer. And that's inexcusable.
Yeah, absolutely, Zoya. And one thing that Zoya lived through that. Zoya has seen it firsthand. There's a long history of traitors. And it must be called. I understand, like, it's such a heavy moment for Venezuelans. It's very hard for people to accept the reality of what just happened. But yeah, Zoya was one of the people called it from day one. She's seen the pattern. It's pattern recognition.
Exactly. Yeah. And it hurts me too, but we can't be emotional about these things. We have to stay dialectical and just follow the facts.
Yeah, well said, Zoya.
Sal Good, Bolivians are striking. Oh, this is giving me life right now. I love watching these protests. I love watching people power in the streets. And
Yep.
these people are peasants. They don't have much to their name. And they're using rocks to obstruct roads and just cancel the transportation of a major country. And it shows you, so it's a masterclass right now, that you could do so much with so little, as long as people are just brave enough to do it. And they have been shooting people dead. So you have to be willing to go that far and lose a few. But 99% of the people are safe and unharmed. There's way more of us than there is of them. It's 8 billion of us versus like 13 families. They've just brainwashed us into accepting powerlessness, but that's not true. We are extremely powerful, and it is the biggest nightmare of the ruling class that we realize that and organize.
Yeah, Zoe, you're spitting right now. Absolutely. I enjoy watching what's going on in Bolivia because it's great to see proper revolutionary science in action. Like, just another example where we look at the American left and we're like, see, look, this, and we got more guns than they do. Come on, bro. Like, how many times do we gotta see an example of shit that works? Like, this is a proven science, so it's very inspiring for sure.
Truth Sensei, Bernie Panders. I like that. I think I might call him that from now on. Jesus Flame. No one is uniting, dude. Well, that's the problem. And just how, things are as they are today doesn't mean they'll be that way forever. We can't give in to pessimism because things are going to get harder and harder for us. So the fact that no one is uniting in the West, at least right now, because as we see in Bolivia, people around the world are uniting. People in Iran are definitely uniting. Hezbollah, other Russians are united. So there are movements full of people uniting. But in the West, it's very weak. And that is something that we need to work on changing, not just accept as a fact and as a reality that we can't do anything about. Michael Gong Dragon, Bernie Trader Sanders. One thing I'll say about Bernie is that he was always this. Bernie was always he hasn't changed or anything. This is exactly who Michael Parenti said he was decades ago when he supported Clinton in the bombing of Yugoslavia. It's just that Bernie was saying some truthful things about how corrupt the system is, and it got everybody fired up, and it was getting people united, and it built a massive movement, and people chose to turn a blind eye to some of his minuses, and those people are the ones that are still surprised every time Bernie has a cringe take. But in reality, this is always who he's been.
You guys know that there are people who still glaze Bernie Sanders in 2026. People still do it, bro. Every time I see it, I'll roll my eyes so hard I'm about to get brain damage. Bro. Like people like Hassan Piker be like, Bernie Sanders, my goat, Bernie. Cal Kalinske calls him his fucking daddy. He's like, Bernie, our dad.
Oh God.
Like the Bernie Media Industrial Complex, you guys don't hate him enough. I feel like no one else hates him as much as I do. They glaze Bernie to this day, bro. To this day, as he is supporting Zionism, condemning the resistance. Hassan Piker, he would do a rant like, I think all Zionists are Nazis. Yeah, I view Zionism just like Nazism. And then the next sentence, he would turn around like, yeah, Bernie, my goat. Bernie, my Zionist goat.
Yeah,
Bro, people still do it. I see it all the time. People still glaze this motherfuckers, despite him supporting NATO Nazis, rejecting ceasefire. He just now called what happened in Gaza genocide like yesterday, after like 2.5 years. People still glaze them. It's sad. Like people just won't move on. People are stuck in 2015. It's wild, man.
Yeah, it was a powerful feeling when a lot of different groups came together, and we just need to bring that back, organizing around class war, not around any politicians. Don Hooligan, free Maduro, free Flores, free Luigi while we're there. Yes, definitely free them all. Free every political prisoner of the United States genocidal empire. Sunshine. Never ever forget the evil also kidnapped Maduro's beautiful wife, also, and others. Yeah, and people are forgetting that Maduro is in solitary confinement for no reason, an independent leader of a sovereign nation. Don Hooligan, USA was never Captain America. It was Homelander all along. Yep. Saul Good, a real people would resist by any means possible. And, we have to hold ourselves to that first and foremost, because it is easiest on us in the West with the privilege we have, especially in the US. We don't have any bombs dropping on our heads. We haven't had any wars on our doorstep. So we have a lot of privileges that other people don't. Other countries struggle with things like getting clean water, getting food, getting just hot water to shower, basic shelter. They have a lot more challenges because of what we're doing to their countries, because of what we're stealing from their countries to make our iPhones and all our toys. So first and foremost, the responsibility is on us by any means necessary. Marvin Vargas, smash like for Nick. Yes, please. We were on a little hiatus. Nick had an eye infection, so he took like a good week off. And we were joking how Google is Nick's healthcare.
Yeah.
So we are really being buried by the algorithm now, and could use your guys' help with liking and sharing, and of course subscribing.
Yep.
Cyberpunk. With AI, the empire will no longer need the wrong kind of people. The plan is to transition Venezuela into a depopulated source of oil and profits. I gotta tell you guys, I think that's a plan for Earth. For the billionaires, now trillionaires. I mean, to have a trillionaire exist while there's poverty in the world, it just shows us that humanity has, and we need a better system.
Yep.
Breakthrough. I wouldn't go to war again as I have done to protect some lousy investment of the bankers. Major General Smedley Butler, War is a Racket, 1935. Yeah, that definitely is a great book to read, because he's someone who fully believed in the project, and when he saw how the beast operates himself, no longer wanted to be a part of it. Truth above all. The people that turned on Maduro for money should have taken their betrayal to him directly so he could offer money to not betray the revolution. Uh, that would be a tough call, you know. You don't want to set up a precedent of like, well, I might betray you if you don't pay me off, because then there would be a line of traitors. Um, the people of Venezuela are the only ones that can set the country free. Breakthrough. Zionist colonialism differs only in form and method, but never in motive or objective. Malcolm X, 1964. And that's something really important to remember, because Zionism or not, colonialism has always been the same for centuries, causing just barbaric destruction. The whole project of Western civilization has been nothing but a genocidal exercise. And anyone that studies history knows this didn't start with Zionism, and this didn't start with Israel. But hopefully it will end here. James Starks, free Maduro now. The workers united can never be defeated. Absolutely. Comrade Cranky, thank you for the $5. Cuba Libre, Venezuela Libre, Puerto Rico Libre, Palestina Libre. Hopefully within our lifetimes. BZ Queen Bee, I can't understand these Americans who have no respect for the sovereignty of other nations. What makes them think Americans are special? Centuries of propaganda? Manifest destiny. I mean, it's always been part of the American project, even how America was created. I mean, what gave those 13 colonies the authority to slaughter the native population and take over their land? So we are definitely very propagandized, and as you see in Hollywood movies, we're framed as the good guys, and whoever we're conquering and murdering are caricatures of bad guys, and therefore we are the ones showing up and sacrificing our lives to save them. And it is crazy that Americans actually believe this, but that's exactly why we do this show, to overcome this cognitive dissonance. The Wombat. It's definitely fucked up how quickly USA got Maduro. Absolutely. They had military aid from Russia. They had the means to resist this. So that was very disappointing, because I think a lot of us were hoping for a fight, hoping for a challenge to Western imperialism. And Maduro was passing out weapons, and we thought that we're going to see, you know, a good old fashioned class struggle battle. And America just walked in there, took Maduro, and now are rewriting the Venezuelan constitution for Western corporations. John Williams, Trump will attack again and again. Every US president has attacked. Monroe Doctrine didn't start with Trump. So, yeah, America will keep stealing as long as it exists.
That's why I told us, like, one of the biggest things the peace movement fails to do is demonize the military. Like, if we're not going to get rid of war via electoralism, we need to make it toxic to be part of their foot soldiers. That's where their power comes from, the sword. Like, every single person you see sign up for the military because they want free college, they're the one who gives the Epstein regime power. Every single person who signed up to be a cop to beat the fuck out of people who protest illegal pipelines and data centers. They're doing the work of the regime. That's why in a part of this class war struggle is dismantling their tools. That's why me and Zoya, we started 10 demands. This is why we demand a reduction of the police state. A police state is their tool. The giant police budgets, that's their tool to repress the people. So we got to have them disarm themselves while we arm each other and take power from them via the gun and the sword. Because until we make being part of the military so toxic, and because that's what should have been happening. Like after all, like in a sane society, after all the war crimes they committed, there would be people, or the people at large will just refuse to serve. Like if you can't vote out the war criminals, shouldn't we do that? Isn't that a more direct way to end the war machine? Nope. There were people on the left who still had this military worship, because they're trying to win elections with suburbanites, and they still honor vets who commit war crime, like Plattner, for example. there's still military worship in the left. They would never acknowledge it, but it's still there. That's why Zoya shock people. I say shocking stuff, especially on X, where I'm like, dude, fuck every single Goy soldier. I hope they come back in Goy boxes because we need to demonize that shit. That's how they get their power at the end of the day.
And people need to be shocked. People are too complacent. So you play a vital role in challenging that cognitive dissonance and making people reevaluate things, even though their first reaction is like, oh my God, Nick, how could you? Nick is a monster. But Nick's actually a really, really nice guy. And that's why he's doing this, because we give people too much of a pass. Like Greg Plattner, how many women and kids has he killed? We're looking at a war criminal telling you that he wants to improve.
This man patrolled Abu Ghraib, bro. This man gave a speech like, yeah, I served and died for your freedom. Like, bro, you was a prison guard for Abu fucking Ghraib. You didn't die for a single motherfucking freedom. This is what the left is supporting, bro. He's a NATO leftist. I haven't had a lot of chance to talk about Plattner, but it's a fascinating tale on how broken the U.S. left is. It's one of the worst examples how the U.S. left is completely cooked. But sorry, go ahead, Zoe. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. What do you mean? I love it. We do this back and forth. And what freedom did he even, serve for? What freedom do we have right now? Chris Halali, part of DD Geopolitics, he just got put on a no-flight list and got stranded in China for doing journalism.
Yeah, when Sarah on, we gotta talk about that. We need to bring Sarah back on to discuss that. But go ahead, Zoe.
Yeah, so and I wonder, Nick, if you and I, took a little drive to Mexico or something, if we would even be allowed back.
But you gotta know the second I leave this country, I'm getting kidnapped, right? Like, if the second I leave this country, bro, I am getting snatched up by DHS. Can you imagine if I go to the UK? They might kill me. But the UK just might fucking kill me straight up. They will scam my social media, and you guys will never see me ever again.
Yeah, even Sarah, last time she visited Iran before the war and she was coming back, they took her cell phone, they interrogated her for hours, and they had printed out her tweets, and they were questioning her about her tweets. Is that freedom?
Bro, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But if you want me to go to Moscow, like, bro, if I go to Moscow, I'm getting arrested immediately. But anyway,
you just gotta be like, oh, that was parody, guys.
But you know how badly they want a Chairman O'Malley my ass. You guys know how they try to put Chairman O'Malley in prison. You guys think that took me the last case? They're gonna keep doing it, bro. They're gonna keep trying to arrest people for opposing their Epstein regime agenda.
Yep. It was bright. People do as best as they can with threats to their safety. I mean, we have to have compassion for the working class because the ruling class certainly won't. But we shouldn't go so far as to erase our responsibility. It's also a bad tactic because they're like boiling us like frogs in hot water. They're just turning up the temperature little by little so that we don't revolt. But in reality, they are going to cause mass death and destruction here domestically. Through inflation, through homelessness, through these super prisons, through starvation. So we're not actually safe. We're giving things up for the illusion of safety.
Yeah, exactly.
James Starks, Bolivia has a united peasant and labor indigenous peoples movement. And isn't it beautiful? I mean, this is giving me life right now. I love watching these protests. I love watching these brave brothers and sisters of fellow proletariat rising up to these fascist foreign cowards that are just trying to slaughter and steal from their country. So this is possible for us. Like, this could be us, fam. you know, we don't have to take what they're doing to us. And as the contradictions increase, as the poverty and suffering increases here, more and more people will turn to our movement. That is why we're here. We have to help people turn not towards barbarism, but towards communism. It was right. Trump made it too obvious how much he's an Israeli puppet with the JOH situation. Trump has exponentially increased his wealth, so I think all presidents have been puppets for the corporations. I mean, which president has gone against the business interest, the capitalist interest? They're all puppets of capital. So this isn't new, and I don't think Trump is anything special, is any less or more of a war criminal than every other U.S. president. And I think that they all serve the same interests.
Yeah.
What's your take, Nick?
No, you right on. You killing it as always. Like, I never like the people who claim that Trump was anti-establishment when they gave him a job. They gave him a job on The Apprentice, bro. He was on the fucking Apprentice, man, dumb as hell, and he was firing people on national TV, and then liberals acted shocked that he became president. This was always your favorite Goy. He gave his daughter away to prominent Jewish supremacist Jared Kushner, and then a bunch of white boys thought he was anti-establishment. They just now discovering that Israel had malign influence in their government. And Zoe, you guys remember whenever I used to talk to people who claim that Trump anti-war, I'm like, bro, what about Israel? Remember how that would be like the first thing I would always go to. Oh no, he's got Trump deranged syndrome, bro. Nope, he's just as bad as them all. And the liberal class are just upset because he's better at politics than they are. That's just the reality of the situation. I don't believe Trump's character, because obviously he represents the escalation in the U.S. empire. He got a lot of crimes he got to answer to. He's a very evil man. But people like to pretend that Trump's character is different than the standard American politician. But to me, Chuck Schumer is just as deranged as Donald Trump in terms of his character. Like, he's the one who said that Palestinians deserve to die if they don't believe in the Torah, essentially. Nancy Pelosi is deranged. Every member of the ruling class is a Donald Trump. And it's wild when people didn't realize that. Joe Biden is a Donald Trump. You guys see how I'm not, you guys, in this analysis, I'm not undermining the threat of Donald Trump. It's just I'm not going to elevate and pretend that he's a uniquely dangerous capitalist when they all working as a team. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Radical education or eduction. Bolivia is doing people-centered human rights. Absolutely. A shining example to us all. Camp Cat. Maduro drove a bus. I can relate to that. My people. Yeah, that's the kind of leaders we need. People who come from the working class, who don't read about our struggles but have lived them.
Bro, the United States and Americans have the fucking nerve to say Venezuela is not a democracy. Meanwhile, they elect teachers, librarians, janitors, construction workers. Like, if you look at their parliament, it's like ordinary people. Compared to the West, Zoe, who we got? Lawyer, son of a lawyer, son of a judge, son of a cop, another cop. Like, our democracy is a complete joke. Then liberals have the fucking audacity of like, well, Venezuela has their oppressive dictatorship.
Exactly, like Blinken. He was totally groomed for the job. His mother was a longtime politician. She did things for the UN, and his father was really rich, also involved in politics. These people don't come out of nowhere. Newsom is related to Pelosi, and he's going to be definitely one of the next presidential candidates. So they have a plan. They plan these things decades ahead. We're the only ones getting shocked by it.
So is love, so is life.
AM. South America fought for independence all those years ago, just to now be a colony of the Epstein Alliance. Shaking my head. But that reminds us of what all great revolutionaries said, which is that the struggle is generational and it always continues. There's
Yeah.
never going to be a point in time where we win and we can just relax and let our guard down. We have to always stay vigilant. We have to always preserve liberation and fight for it.
America needs a Mao very badly. We have Elon Musk who's a trillionaire, and people want to tell me Mao was wrong. Get the fuck out of here. As I said before, what's happening in South America is our failure, guys.
Exactly. And this is what Stalin meant when he said that history would vindicate him. Because as we see the barbarity of the ruling class only increase, it shows you why revolutionaries use the methods that they use. Like gulags were an act of compassion. They could have just killed those people, but they were like, well, we should try to re-educate them.
Dude, has there ever been anyone in history more vindicated than Stalin and Mao? Well, Mao didn't really need vindication. Everyone in the world know how based he was. It's only people in the West who like Mao is revered around the global majority. It's only that the West have this weird view of him. But Stalin, has there ever anyone been more vindicated than him? What the fuck? What a Chad. Stalin's tough. Stalin tough as hell.
It was exactly what the times needed, or we would all long ago be speaking German.
Yep.
Champamanda, thank you. And thank you for your continuous support. Julie, thank you for the $2. I'd love for historian Nick to do a World War I tutorial.
Dude, that would be a good 90-minute live stream just alone. Because you had to dive into the conflicts before that led to World War One, the agenda of the Rockefeller class. Like, if you like, you gotta give me fucking started. We can't do another 2 hours, Jelly. Where we can't do another 2.5-hour show. I might put Zoe to work this summer because you're off work. We might have to do a few of these longer streams now that you're free. But we had to analyze the motivations of the Rockefellers, big industry. They played a big part of the conflict. Yeah, it's World War II. There are people who got like 3-hour videos on YouTube and they just scratching the surface. But yeah, thank you for Super Chat. You guys know I love diving in history. I'm gonna get to it eventually.
One thing I will tell people to always keep in mind is that the King of England and the German presidency and the Tsar of Russia were all related through Queen Victoria.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So these are the same dynasties, and they've been playing a lot of kayfabe and sending poor people to die in rich man's wars for generations. So when you want to get into deeper motivations, just look at whose wealth was increasing and who's related to who. The receipts are all there.
I told you guys, Zoya's based, man. Zoya's based.
Political Homemaker, thank you for the $5. Love the show. Very excited. Wisconsin Greens are on the ballot, especially Matthew Ardent, 6th District, I guess. Pete Karras averted a challenge for Secretary of State. Yeah, but, I don't have that much hope in what our political system is going to give us. I think we're going to have to fight for liberation. Comrade Cranky, thank you for the $5. Never talk to cops. Never open your door to cops. Never feel sorry for cops. You have the right to remain silent. So please consider it. Yeah, that's like rule number 1. Never incriminate yourself. These people aren't your friends. You're not going to convince them. These people started out as slave patrollers. So cops are not your friends. Doesn't matter how they're talking to you. They serve an establishment that's meant to oppress you, specifically you, because rich people are not going to ever serve the time that poor people serve for the same exact crimes. And white-collar crime is so much more dangerous, but so much more acceptable in the West that it's actually scary.
Yeah. You guys probably remember I had someone broke in my car like 2.5 years ago. And then my mom was like, you're not about to call the cops? Like, fuck no. Fuck. What are they going to do? Find my shit? Nope. They're not going to do that. I'm not calling the damn cops so they can take my number down, take my VIN number down. Hell no. Never call the damn cops, guys. Never call the cops.
Yeah, remember, cops only solve 2% of major crimes.
Yeah,
2%.
they're just gonna file a police report, put you in their system. That's it. That's why I leave. Like, bro, there's literally no reason for me to call the cops. No reason at all. And there's no reason for like 99% of the time, there's no reason to even get these niggas involved, bro. Not at all. Like, people watch a Rush Hour, they think they're gonna call the cops in a Jackie Chan like police officer gonna kick down the door and solve their problem. Why you guys think they got like fucking 16,000 seasons of Law and Order? They try to trick people into thinking what the cops do. That is not Law and Order is the most Goyslop propaganda trash of all time. They don't give a fuck about you. You know how they always got this hot actor playing the cop, and they're like super into the case, and they're like, "We're gonna solve." They don't give a fuck, bro. The last time I called the cops when I was like 19 years old, and I shared this story a long time ago, where my apartment got busted in. They stole my computer, my friend's phone, and a bunch of stuff got stolen in my first apartment ever, because we lived in the fucking ghetto. We called the cops, bro. They was like annoyed that we even called them. They was annoyed that they was even there. And that was like the last time. I was like, bro, never again. They didn't find my computer. Didn't find the guy. They didn't give a shit. They felt it. They was mad at me for even getting them involved. So that was like one of them life stories. I was still more liberal minded back then, but not, that was like one of the things. All right, why the fuck would we ever call? That's when I started my path. Like, why would we even need these niggas, bro? They're not gonna help us. They don't help us. They don't help you. And white people, despite all the trillions of dollars we spend on police and these little surveys, they still be like, I feel unsafe. They said, I feel unsafe. A poll show that Americans still feel unsafe despite record police spending. Why do you guys ever question why that is? These bums are just racking up giant salaries doing nothing. And people think they're safe because these motherfuckers are walking around. Get the hell. It's ridiculous. There's still a ton of mind decolonization that Americans need to go through. Even people who think they're woke. And that's what we started at 10 Demands a long time ago, trying to educate people about this kind of stuff.
And the most infuriating thing is that crime is down. Crime has been down for years, and they're still increasing police budgets. Who do you think they plan to go after, guys?
Exactly.
The franchise, we're basically brainwashed into being entitled for reasons we could never explain because there isn't one. That reminds me of how hardworking Americans go all out to defend billionaires from being taxed and praise them. You're not a capitalist. You don't have any capital. Why are you defending these people? But this is how powerful propaganda is, where people literally will defend their oppressors. And no coup in the world would be possible without sellouts. So we really have to get more honest about what's going on in our communities, who really has the boot on our neck, who benefits from this system at all, and what are we going to do about it? And because I don't want Nick and I to get stopped at an airport, I'm not telling you guys that violence is the only way out. Actually, before any violence, we have to build infrastructure, because they can shut off our food today. They can cut us off from vital resources. We need to build infrastructures first. How are we going to support each other and ourselves in case we do rise up? Like, what if we do want to have a general strike? Are we ready to feed our communities, to help them with shelter and in other ways? Or are we just asking everyone to become homeless at the same time? We have to have strategy, and we have to be united in that strategy, because they can't get us all. The power is in the people. We can shut down the system tomorrow. If we went on a general strike tomorrow, nothing would function in this country. And that is the exact power and unity that everything they do is to prevent us from.
So it's love. You're spitting, my friend. There's a reason why you guys haven't seen me tweet about the Elon Musk trillionaire story yet. Because I had to put 2 tweets in the draft. Because I was like, oh shit, that definitely gonna get me suspended. I just say I was about to send out 2 tweets about what we should do about Elon Musk being a trillionaire. But I was like, oh damn, I can't have my account being suspended today. Let's just say that.
Yeah, but there have always been clever tactics for us to communicate our plans and intentions. It's just at the same time, we shouldn't give them the rope to hang us with. So always have strategy and be smart and Start organizing in your communities yesterday. What's the worst that's going to happen? You get to know your neighbors, you have some camaraderie, you have a better quality of life. You're not going to lose anything by actually talking to the people who live around you and helping each other out. That is the most natural human condition. Capitalism has only existed for like 1% of human history. Things weren't always like this, and the only way to change them is if each and every one of us starts changing our minds and changing the world around us. That's all I got for today. Hopefully, you guys are sufficiently inspired.
Yeah, Zoe is powerful. Zoe always get me fired up. I was tired as hell at the end of the interview. Now I'm fired up whenever we get to talk. Is that the last chat, Zoe? I think we're done, right?
Yeah, we're done.
I bet. So I'm going to some beach with my family this weekend. So no live stream Saturday and Sunday. I may be back by Monday, but I'll let you guys know. It's not a long trip. It's only a few hour drive. So I think I should be able to do a stream on Monday. So make sure you stay tuned. I'm sorry, there was a lot of streams out now that didn't materialize. There was a lot of collaborations I had to push back, but they're still coming. The Nico collaboration is for next week. Rathbone, we meet again next Wednesday. He had to figure out a tech issue he was having last time we did a dual stream. So we're gonna meet with Rathbone next week. So we had a few streams that we had to cancel, but they're coming. I just moved them ahead in the future. And Zoya's free. She's free from school, so yeah,
Free Zoya.
So yeah, I gotta put Zoya to work. We gotta still have a big summer. A lot going on here. So I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe to Patreon. Support RBN Bonfire to help us raise money for Gaza mutual aid. I'm not making any money with our Bonfire merch. It's all going to mutual aid and our labor. Appreciate everyone for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. You guys know the algorithm is suppressing us, but we close to 10K. Let's spread the message. Anyone who likes, that help us in the algorithm. Sharing it also is great too. And make sure you remember to subscribe. And make sure you check if you're still subscribed. People get unsubscribed from the channel all the time. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, Rome on the RBN channel. We're going to start Nick and Rome here soon. We're just trying to get our schedules together. I want to do a Nick and Rome show for the RBN channel. There's still a lot going. There's still a lot that we got planned. RBN is still alive, my friends. It's you guys as well. We're a movement. There's no spontaneous revolution that's going to happen. We have to be the revolution. I appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you guys next week.